So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Alto Metals and our Sandstone Gold project in Western Australia, and why we're so excited about this gold project. We've had some great drilling results, we've had a resource growth, we can see further resource growth, and I think the future ahead for Alto is fantastic. So just very quickly on the disclaimer there. So and echoing the panel's key points, so we're an advanced West Australian gold explorer. WA just got rated number 2 in the world for the Fraser Index, so it's a fantastic jurisdiction. And we're exploring a historic gold field. Sandstone's had mining since the early 1900s. It's already produced well over 1.3 million ounces of gold. It's a very simple story. We're drilling below some historic pits at the moment, and we're just finding a lot more gold and adding ounces. And these systems go a lot deeper, they get a lot bigger. So it's a great place to be, and it's a great place to be exploring. We recently closed a large capital raising, for us a large capital raising, brought on some new investors. And we've got a great management team, and as I said, we've got a growing resource. So we're ticking all the right boxes and all the things you want to see. So just quickly on the corporate side, so we've got about 700 million shares on issue. Our share price is about 5 cents at the moment, so 35 million market cap. So EV announced sort of fairly respectable, really. I guess I'd certainly say cheap in the current environment. We're adding ounces about $18 an ounce, so we're certainly adding at a better rate. So we're continually just adding those ounces. But the key thing I'd like to highlight from this slide is our capital structure. And I know a lot of companies come up here and they'll say, look, you know, we've got a very tight capital structure. Our top 20 hold about sort of 60 to 70% of the register. Now, part of that, for some of you that have been following the Alto story for a while, are aware that we've had some corporate sort of transactions, which I think is a big endorsement of the project itself. But it's also sort of helped us to stay where we are, and there's a lot of investors that can see the real value that we are continuing to unlock at Sandstone. This last capital raising that we did, we brought on a number of very well-known resource-focused investors. So Line Selection joined the register. We've got Acorn on the register. There's a number of very well-known Perth-based resource investors. And the key thing, and why I've focused so much on trying to sort of cultivate a resource-focused institutional register, is it's a great endorsement of the project. These guys go through a very, very long, arduous DD process. They look at the project, they look at management, so all the things that the panel echoed. They look at the jurisdiction, and then they invest. And I guess the benefit for you as retail investors is that you get to piggyback off of all of that due diligence. So if you're following some of these funds coming in, it's a great sort of endorsement, not only for us as a company, but for you to sort of leverage off their knowledge and expertise. And then on the management side, so myself, I've got a big background in resources, and certainly in M&A as well, which has helped over the last few years. My chairman's Mark Connolly. Many of you may already know Mark. He's had a great sort of career in gold. One of the biggest successes was Papillon, which was acquired by B2 for over $1 billion. He's been involved in developments and corporate exits, so great track record, both here and in North America. And then Richard Monty, again, he's a very, very good geologist, has had great background in both discoveries and taking things through to development. And that team, my team's supported by some great consultants. Ed Bolters and Barry Bourne are two of the key ones. And the importance of that is, I mean, Barry and Ed have come out of some really big companies, Barrick, Goldfields. They've been involved in big discoveries. They know what big discoveries look like. We also parachute in some key consultants. So we're building a really, really good team, a very flat structure. There's certainly no sacred cows in the technical team. We have full open days, but having that level of expertise that we can draw on is really helping us, and I think that's why it's led to where we're at today. So at the beginning of the year, or just earlier in the year, we announced a major resource upgrade to 1 million ounces at Sandstone. And we've optimised those resources within $2,500 pit shells, and obviously the gold price is slightly higher than that. Importantly, those resources are all open pittable. The grade's at 1.5 grams. The resource, most of it's, like over 90% of it's less than 150 metres from surface, so nice and shallow. The reason we put the optimised pit shells around it is because certainly certain of our peers don't put the pit shells, so it just makes it a lot easier to compare sort of, I guess, apples with apples on a resource basis. But we can see these resources will continue along strike, and at depth they are open. And what we're looking to do is to build a substantial standalone operation at Sandstone, and certainly with the resource growth we've had to date, it's certainly demonstrating that is potentially achievable. Importantly, we've done quite a bit of metallurgical work. For those of you that invest in gold, I mean, 98% recoveries is fantastic, so we're seeing it's From what we've to date, it's all recoverable through a very simple CIL process. So certainly no refractory issues at the moment from what we can sell. And so that's a big tick. So again, ticking all these right boxes. And it's a very, very large land holding that we have, and I've got a slide I'll talk to on that, because one of our challenges is how we continue to prioritise. There's a number of historic pits, a number of resources, and how we sort of validate which of those we're going to chase. So it's a big, big footprint, and we're focused on a sort of 20-kilometre corridor at the moment. And this is just a great slide that demonstrates that resource growth. We've been really aggressive with our drilling. We're not afraid to have rigs on site. 18 months ago, we had 3 rigs going. Really, really busy time. We aggressively drilled this out. And I think this slide just demonstrates that the resource is restricted by drilling. And the more that we drill, we'll continue to add those ounces. And that inset there just shows the ounces per vertical metre. Very, very shallow. So, as I said, we're located in the East Merchant. It's a great spot. You can drive out to Sandstone. You can fly out there. There's commercial flights. There's a charter flight out there. There's a small town at Sandstone. It's serviced by there's some amazing sort of roads. So we've got Ramilius. Until recently, we're trucking through our property on nice sealed roads. So it's a great spot. We're surrounded by a number of operating mills, and there's a number of multi-million ounce deposits. So it's a great spot to be in. And this is what we're calling our alpha domain. And as I said, we've got such a large land holding, it's been really difficult to prioritise where we focus. And I guess when we first got involved, it was really just looking at where the critical mass of those resources are. And that's why we focused down on that southeast corner. And if you imagine sandstone, it's a large triangle, if you like. It's a big greenstone belt, and it's abutted by 2 major shear zones, the UME and then the Edale shear. And then the rocks, and apologies to go into a little bit of technical stuff, but I'm more than happy to have a chat with people after this. Basically, the rocks are refolding around themselves at the base of that triangle, and then they're coming up and then refolding again. And that's what you're seeing on this eastern side here, on that corridor. And you need that geological complexity, because that's where the gold's dropping out in those high, difficult areas. We've got multiple styles of mineralisation at Sandstone. We've got intrusion, got granodiorites intruding through mafic and ultramafic rocks, and we're sort of seeing gold dropping out there. We've got differentiated dolerites, and we've got just high-grade reefs. So we've got multiple styles of mineralisation, which is a really good endorsement. There's a lot going on at Sandstone. This area that we focused on, when I first got involved, there's been a lot of historical mining that was just mining out the oxide. A lot of the time, the previous miners were mining down the oxide deposits, and as soon as you hit fresh rock, they'd stop mining. So we're going back in, as I said, we're drilling below a lot of those pits, and we're adding a lot of ounces there. So we focused on the alpha domain because we wanted to demonstrate those resources would grow. We took the Lord Nelson right down there at the bottom of the screen. We took that from 100,000 ounces to over 400,000 ounces now, and those resources are still open. We moved up to Vanguard, which was 50,000 ounces. Vanguard's a differentiated dolerite. That went from 50 to 150,000 ounces. Again, that's open along that northwest, southeast trending corridor. We went up to Indomitable. Indomitable's huge, and we're pretty impressed with that so far. That's gone from 70,000 ounces to over 200,000 ounces now. Again, it's defined over 3.5 kilometres open. What we've been doing is demonstrating that this belt has the capacity to support multi-million ounce potential. And that's what you want to see when you're starting to look at developing a standalone operation. And then Bull Oak at the top of the screen, again, it's very similar to our Lord story. It's an old pit that's mined. There's mineralisation, multiple stack loads below that. We're working on that at the moment. There's some targeting there, and I think you're going to see we've got rigs going out to site, I would say, in the next month or so to follow up on some of those holes. And we're quite excited about Bull Oak, along with the other deposits there. This is just a long section on Indomitable, and you can see here two interesting things about Indomitable. It's a very, very weathered zone there. In some areas we're down to 190 metres and we're still in oxide, and we see these big oxide footprints as a signature of something much larger at depth. We're drilling this. The more we're drilling it, we're more refining. We're getting some great high-grade hits. It does have some challenges on we need some of that, the diamond drilling, which we're planning to do, which is the funding completed. And that diamond drilling will give us the structural information to really help target some of those high-grade shoots that we can see plunging at depth. And this is a great slide that shows that whole footprint. And it is a real challenge for us because we do have multiple targets. As I said, there's historic mines there's deposits. How we prioritise that is basically continually looking at our drilling results, and we're just focusing on each of those, and we will continue to rank each of our deposits as those results come through and where we can see resource growth and growing that critical mass. and also looking at that regional side. So we have a bit of a budget which is sort of for our regional targeting, because we don't want to get distracted on just growing resources, because we believe there's some major discoveries to be had on some of the deposits we haven't even really looked at yet. And this is a great example of that. Hacks and Arroya, Sandstone, Hacks and Arroya, sort of 200,000 ounces from Arroya and Hacks at 16 grams and 24 grams per tonne, so two super high grade reefs. And I've got to ask the question a number of times, why aren't we looking at this? And the answer is, we've had WMC have gone through, Troy have gone through, so we wanted to have a different approach. So we sat down with Ed Baltus, we looked at it from a structural point of view, we took a step back. What jumped out at us when we've overlaid the drilling with see all the gold squares there are all the historical workings. You've got a north-south striking reef at Arroya, your north-south striking reef at Hacks, both dipping to the west. And then you'll see further to the, I guess the left-hand side of that slide, there's a number of sort of, again, north-south trending workings. And this is very similar to in West Africa when you go to these artisanal workings. There's hardly any drilling there, and for us, that's a really exciting target for us. If we could go and repeat another one of those reefs, we really could be onto something special. And this is just one great example of some of the regional targets we have. Now, what respectable gold company doesn't have an emerging lithium story? Now, I'm sorry, I've got 3 minutes left, and I will talk about this. I struggled with this for some time as to whether we would include a slide here. Now, my entire background's gold. I love gold. And we are very much focused on building sandstone. But I think the importance of this is we've had a number of approaches about lithium. You know, when you get one approach, you're thinking, okay, well, someone's just sort of seeing that if there can be certain opportunity to farm in. But when we've had multiple approaches, we've started to, in between doing our campaign drilling, we've had guys out in the field doing a bit of soils work. The key biggest part of endorsement I see on this project is Rio Tinto are drilling on the property right next door to us, and I see that as the biggest endorsement that you've got one of the world's largest gold miners. One of my peers, when I worked at Rio, are drilling for lithium there. So we're not getting any value for this, but it's really just to sort of put on the register as some major upside there, and who knows where that could go. But it's got all the right ingredients. We've got fertile granites, we've got greenstones, there's intrusions there, and there's big shears. So it ticks all the right boxes, but we're going to let Rio do all the work there and see how that evolves. So that's really it for the investment summary, I guess, on sandstone. We're in Western Australia. It's a major growing resource. We can see that resource continue to grow. We've got multiple targets there. It really has been untested below 100 metres of depth. And we've got a great management team and supported by a fantastic technical team. So I'm at the booth just outside to the right, Alto. Please come and see me. We've also got a draw on tomorrow night, which I've given Kerry. We've got a gold nugget, which has been kindly provided to us by one of the prospectors at Sandstone. So that's being given away tomorrow night. I think you need to be here on the night to go into that draw. So thank you.